Welcome back to the Journey to Leadership podcast, leadership and management insights to engage, educate, and empower. The aim of this podcast is to provide leaders at all levels of organizations with the tactics and techniques to significantly increase effectiveness, productivity, and results in their business. I am Corey Atkinson, your leadership and performance coach, Vice President of Learning and Development at CSPN, and today we're talking about blind spots. You know blind spots, we all have them when we're driving, looking over our right shoulder or our left to make sure there's nobody there. I recently read an article that reminded me of blind spots. It was about some work that's being done at a stress research institute in Europe where they studied over 3,000 people over the past 10 years. One of the most interesting findings for me was that the boss or leaders have a significant positive or negative impact on their employees' lives outside of the company. And that blind spot reminded me of Catherine. Catherine was a participant in a strategic leadership program I was leading. She was dedicated, committed, and highly involved. We had just concluded our day one of the program, and I was at the front of the room reviewing notes, thinking about the learning and the lessons for the next day, when Catherine walked up to me and she said, "Wow, Corey, you really got me thinking about what it means to be a leader." I sat back and smiled and said, "I'm glad to hear that. I'm glad we're connecting." She says, "Corey, right now I'm on a small team that works remotely. We get together a few times a month. Otherwise, we rely on emails, texts, conference calls, and video meetings to stay on the same page. It's been great. It allows us everyone to be efficient and focused on our work." I said, "That's great to hear. Virtual teams are obviously have a lot of opportunities." She nodded and sat beside me and said, "But my challenge is this. I have a colleague, Javon. He's a director of our strategic partnership team. We work very closely together, and about a week ago, we were having lunch, talking about our projects and people when I asked him about Michelle. Immediately, he sat back in his chair, wiped his mouth, and he said, 'You noticed it too? She has not been herself.' Do you think she's looking for another job, Catherine?" We had both noticed it. Michelle, one of our best team members, who was working on a project for both of us, had seemed to be more distant, even somewhat disengaged. She was not bringing the same enthusiasm, commitment, sharing of ideas, or that extra touch to her work that we had seen in the past. Now, I had talked to her about it and asked her what we could do, and Javon had broached the subject with her as well, but nothing was working. We didn't know what the cause was. So now I sat back in my chair. I looked at Catherine, smiled, and said, "Can I ask you one question?" She said, "Sure." I said, "How are your one-on-ones?" She said, "They're great." I said, "No, Catherine, seriously, are you spending enough time talking about her work as well as her, the person?" Catherine was silent for a moment. Then she started to nod her head in agreement. "Now that I think of it, you're right. I've been so focused on completing projects and accomplishing goals over the past quarter and a bit that I don't think we really do talk. I mean, we've had our video meetings, we've had some one-on-one in-persons, but I don't know if I've really connected with her. Come to think of it, I have not truly checked in with her. It's actually been a few months since I really asked her how she was doing." I could see the look of disappointment flash across Catherine's face. And then I said to her, "Catherine, it happens. Once in a while, highly efficient leaders like yourselves get blind spots. In your case, Catherine, it's a management blind spot. It can happen, often on virtual teams. It can happen on traditional teams, but virtual teams, they need more overt connecting." She started to shake her head some more. I stood up, went over to the whiteboard, grabbed a dry erase marker, and wrote 4 words on the board. As I did, she took out her workbook and started writing the same words down. The words were apologize, inquire, future, commit. Apologize, inquire, future, commit. I said, step 1, because you already have a relationship with her, you have to apologize. Now, that's always something hard for some leaders to do, but it makes a world of difference. Let her know the ball was dropped and you're going to do what it takes to pick it up. Then remind her of your goal as a leader. How will you show up for her, for the organization, for yourself? Once you've apologized, get into the inquiry mode. Now that means really listen, relate, connect, find out who she is nowadays, what's on her mind, where she's going, when does she want to get there? Once you've done the inquiry, then focus on the future. Get back to classic model of good coaching. Focus on obstacles that you can remove to help her get to where she wants to go, and opportunities that you might want to present to help her get there by leaps and bounds. And finally, commitment. What are the next steps that she will take, and what are the next steps that you will take that will be very clear that you are making sure that ball doesn't get dropped again? She wrote down notes furiously in her workbook, asked me a few more questions, and said, "Thank you so much, Corey. This has been helpful." About 2 weeks after the leadership session, Catherine called me and shared how she used the process of apologize, inquire, future commit to get rid of her blind spots. She said with a smile on her face, "Corey, as soon as I got back to the office, I booked a one-on-one with Michelle. And as soon as we had that meeting, I started off with the apology. I clarified my role as a leader, and you were right. I could visibly see the appreciation on her face." Then I asked Michelle where she was at outside of work. I was tactful, diplomatic, not to get too personal, but I discovered that her interests had shifted. She wanted to make some small changes to her roles to balance her life out more. She also had different long-term goals now. So what I had thought were great tasks that further those goals were actually taking her in the wrong direction, and thus the lack of enthusiasm. She had mentioned it before, but I wasn't listening. You know, Corey, what was most amazing in retrospect is how quickly things have turned around. Just since that one meeting where I really listened to her, she could see I was listening. I know that Michelle is back to the Michelle that we know, showing her enthusiasm, bringing her ideas, and really delivering quality work. Thank you so much, Corey. So let's recap. What's our lesson? Well, one thing is for sure, we all know it is true in theory, but not always in practice. Always keep in mind that we can't take any of our good people for granted, any of our people for granted, for that matter. You see, the issue with this and being a virtual team was the lack of real communication. We have to make time to check in with our people and assume that if there's a problem, maybe we are causing it as much as anything else. And all it takes is making the time to listen and take action on what we hear. So, why does this work? Well, for decades, great leaders have sworn by the value of one-on-ones, yet there wasn't always qualitative evidence to back it up. Fortunately, now there is. A recent study from the Harvard Business Review found employees who got little to no one-on-one time with their manager were more likely to be disengaged. On the flip side, those who get twice the number of one-on-ones with their manager relative to their peers are almost 70% more likely to be engaged. Oh, and what happens when a manager doesn't meet with employees one-on-one at all? They are 4 times as likely to be disengaged as individual contributors as a whole. So the numbers speak for themselves. Your takeaway from this one is to make sure you don't have blind spots for your people. So what can you do? I got 3 things that I share with people that I work with, leaders at all levels, to ensure that they're minimizing, or if not, eradicating their blind spot. Number 1, learn how to start having awesome one-on-ones by reaching out to us for our free ebook on performance coaching. 2, learn what the most important topics are to your people in your one-on-ones, and make sure you spend time talking about them as much as you are talking about work. And 3, get help mastering changing performance and your one-on-ones by finding out more about our free performance coaching toolkit. Call or email me for more information. So that's our message for watching out for your blind spots. Hope it helps you. Please connect with me through our website, mycspn.com. You will find information about our customizable learning and development options, consulting, upcoming events, and client success stories. As well, you can reach out to me directly on LinkedIn or Facebook or Twitter, or email me directly at Corey, Corey, at mycspn.com. I love getting your thoughts, comments, and questions. All of our episodes are on our website, on our podcast page, so go there to see what else we've been talking about. And because community is key to our journey to leadership and life, I've got a great offer for you, the listeners. When you post a positive review of our podcast, I'll send you my CSPN Gotta See This reading list. It's a collection of books, articles, blogs, infographics, and more that my clients and I have found extremely helpful for maximizing leadership, implementing management strategies, and delivering memorable experiences for clients and customers. So please post your review and I'll send the list immediately. My name is Corey Atkinson, the leadership and performance coach at CSPN. I hope you really enjoy listening and look forward to seeing you on your journey to leadership. Thanks for being a part of my day. Hope you have a fabulous one.